Two 7-inch flagships walk into a bar, and PhoneArena's Galaxy S20 Ultra versus Note 10 Plus Pro begins. Can there be a winner given that Samsung isn't targeting the S20 Ultra towards Note 10 owners? It's complicated, but the Note has twice the base storage and a stylus to fight off any heretic thoughts about splurging 3 Benjamins extra for the Ultra width. Nominally, the S20 Ultra display is slightly larger than the 6.8-incher of the Note 10 Plus, but since it employs a taller aspect ratio, the square-inch surface area of both displays is basically the same. The tall display of the Ultra, however, brings about a narrower body, making the phone slightly easier to hold and operate with one hand than the Note. If we can talk about ease of handling with phones that are bordering on the 7-inch mark, that is. Plus, the S20 model is heavier to balance, especially with a case on, and more uncomfortable in pockets. It's also more cumbersome to use with gesture navigation, as its display is less curved on the side than the Note, and the stock screen protector edges get in the way too. Thankfully, Samsung has a setting to increase the back swipe sensitivity with a case, otherwise the raised lip gets in the way even worse than the screen protector. Speaking of the pre-installed display film, it gets dinged and scuffed pretty easily on both phones, but better than the expensive screens themselves. For all other practical purposes, the Galaxy S20 Ultra and Note 10 Plus employ the best that the OLED display technology can offer when it comes to contrast and standard gamut or rich color representation. The combination of record low mirror reflections and peak brightness levels makes them the best there are at outdoor sunlight visibility as well. The maximum power consumption of the displays is slightly higher on the Note though, which should positively reflect on the S20 Ultra outdoorsy battery life in comparison. The camera kit of the S20 Ultra is second to none when it comes to raw specs, yet Note 10 Plus stands its ground when it comes to picture quality. The Ultra's main advantage over the Note camera are the levels of detail and lossless zooming distance it is able to achieve, as you can see in the comparison samples here. Its photos exhibit better white balance with truer to scene but colder in comparison to the Note 10 colors and higher contrast. People like warmer colors though, so some would prefer the Note's results. Moreover, when shooting people, the Ultra's algorithms are trained to emphasize faces by brightening the shot and artificially smoothing the skin surface, while the Note's camera software keeps things looking more natural in those scenarios. Well, zooming with the Ultra returns way better detail and sharpness indeed, up to 10 times lossless, while the Note maxes out at 2 times telephoto. The Ultra also has a slight edge in low light, predominantly with the detail and bright highlights, yet the Note 10 Plus is one of the best phone camera performance at night too. Flipping the phones over and shooting a front camera comparison returns mixed results. Granted, the S20 Ultra has an amazing 40 megapixel sensor that resolves a greater amount of detail in its 10 megapixel binning mode and can shoot excellent well-lit portraits. Sometimes, however, Note 10 Plus delivers the more balanced selfies, while on the Ultra they are overexposed and the skin imperfections fixed a bit too aggressively, just like its software does with the rear cameras. When it comes to video recording, the Ultra definitely has the upper hand though, be it only for the ability to do 8K definition or to employ usable 5x zoom while recording footage. For all intents and purposes, however, the video stabilization, the details and smoothness are top-notch on both phones and very close if we compare the most used mode 1080p at 30 frames per second. The color credibility round here goes to the Ultra again with its less visually appealing, but more natural colors and white balanced presentation. The phones record excellent stereo audio while shooting video, but the sound playback round goes to the Ultra's deeper, more impressive speaker output.
And this is the wide angle. And this is the wide angle video.
Zippily running the latest Samsung interface and Android edition, the Galaxy S20 Ultra and Note 10 Plus strike the fine balance between a feature-rich interface and the notorious core Android smoothness. Turn on the motion smoothness display option of the S20 Ultra and the ability of its screen to refresh at 120 Hz immediately puts it abreast of the Note. For a battery life hit that is, but something's gotta give. The Note, however, returns the ball with the versatility of its S Pen stylus that can now not only doodle, select or annotate, but also execute commands from afar. Thankfully, you no longer have to download a separate app to activate rich navigation gestures, as Samsung has baked them into the S20 Ultra interface settings. Another advantage is the quick share menu, that it's easier to use than the Note's current direct share for fast file swaps, albeit both transfer with the same speed. With up to 16 gigs of RAM and a Snapdragon 865 processor, the new Galaxy has an edge before the 855 and 12 gigs of RAM set of the Note, but it's on paper as both perform admirably in benchmarks and in real life. Samsung still put a 4300 mAh battery to support the Note 10 Plus 4.5 million pixels, all the while Chinese flagships are at larger packs pushing 30% less screen dots, and the wisdom is on display in our battery benchmarks. For the S20 Ultra, however, Samsung woke up from its slumber and used the new packaging technology to stuff the largest 5000 mAh battery it has ever placed in a flagship. It had to if it wanted to support a double whammy of 5G connectivity and a huge 120Hz display. That extra juice results in longer endurance, albeit not drastically so, and if you keep things at 120Hz, the battery life may even drop a tad below the Note 10 Plus usage. On the other hand, the Ultra takes less than an hour to charge with its huge battery, even with the stock 25-watt brick in the box. Still, the high-res displays prevent the two phones from being at the top of the battery life pack among their peers, and Samsung is setting realistic expectations by saying that they are full-day battery phones rather than overpromising. Set the interface to dark mode, bid at 4G%, and use the default display resolution and refresh rate, and not only will the S20 Ultra battery life be the best out of any Samsung flagship so far, but you may just stretch it well into the next day too. Being the two most gigantic and well-spec'd Android phones around puts Samsung's current finest in a market niche of their own. At $1,400 for the Ultra, the contest seems stacked in favor of the cheaper Note, which starts off at double the storage and has the S Pen. The tangible advantages before the Note that the S20 Ultra brings to the table though, crazy image detail and lossless zoom levels, longer battery life or smoother 120Hz scrolling are largely worth the price premium over the Note 10 Plus 5G, but not the 4G model, especially if you find a promo. Granted, the amount of detail that the 108 megapixel camera of the S20 Ultra captures and the crazy zoom levels are unmatched, yet the Note 10 Plus takes very good photos in all scenarios that matter too. This was our PhoneArena video comparison of the Galaxy S20 Ultra and Note 10 Plus monsters. Stay tuned for more around Samsung's best phone to date.